Hello everybody and welcome to Tiger Tales, The Lost Stories, a place you'll find stories and fanfictions written and read to you by host me, Ty Tiger. All the stories on this channel are in the first person perspective, and I try to twist the terms fanfictions. Welcome to our Halloween special, and happy Halloween everybody. I hope you guys had a great Halloween, and the end of 2023 is dawning closer, so I hope you guys have the rest of your year in a great way. So, let's dive into the Halloween special. We dive back into the Colour Matrix, a storyline of mine where I have one of our mysteries, Ace. Ace is using something called the Colour Matrix, which acts kind of something similar to Sword Art Online, the Matrix, those sort of things where you go to sleep in a machine and it kind of hijacks you into another body. Another example to this is Avatar, the Blue People. But everything that Ace can hijack himself into is an alternate universe version of himself, allowing Ace to explore the multiverse. Looking through their eyes and living exactly 8 hours of his time, however long that is in that universe's time, and exploring that universe. Today is our Halloween special, which means I had to make this chapter a bit of a spooky one, so I hope you guys enjoy this. Now again, I must warn you, there are some Halloween elements to this, so please be advised. Now let's dive in with The Colour Matrix, World 4, The Haunted Machete Found at Camp Blood. I woke up like any other day. Started my day with breakfast. I was there eating when suddenly there was dead silence. Usually Daisy would talk to me. I stood and walked into the kitchen area. Daisy, are you okay? I called out to my AI. I had no answer. Then I whistled like I was calling a dog. Daisy, come on Daisy, where are you? I called out. I ventured forth, looked around the dome. There was no sign of the AI. I had to then head into the Colour Matrix room, and there was a blinking light on the console. I pressed the button and a video of a black screen appeared. It glitched every now and then, but it also had no sound. I watched it for about 2 minutes, then I turned around to be startled by a holographic ghost, and I jumped out of my skin.
Ha ha ha, I got you, sir,
Daisy said. I glared around the room. Okay, well done, Daisy. I see you've gotten into the festive spirit of Halloween, I muttered.
Sorry, sir, I thought it'd make you laugh. I was foolish,
Daisy said. I then rolled my eyes and chuckled slightly. Honestly, it's fine, I shrugged. Then I walked up to the Colour Matrix and I took my seat. I started scrolling through the Matrix when suddenly a video message popped up. I clicked on it and it was from Sparks, my boss. Hey Ace, happy Halloween. To celebrate the spooky season, I've unlocked one of the locked away universes to the access of the Colour Matrix. This is your one chance to access and explore a different universe. So enjoy and, of course, happy Halloween. Sparks said in the video. The video ended and there was only one universe accessible to me. Daisy, tell me about this universe, I asked the AI.
Sorry, sir, but Master Sparks demanded I tell you nothing,
Daisy told me. Damn it, okay. I grinned slightly, then I loaded the universe into the Colour Matrix. I took my shirt off, I laid down and the needles went into my fingers and my back, and then I closed my eyes. As Daisy started making ghost noises, everything went dark. I woke up in a car. I was a police officer, and I was waiting for my colleague to come back into the vehicle. It was dead of night. It was warm, summer's night, so it was warm and sticky inside the car. I had drifted off to sleep. I checked my watch and waited for the return of James. He had left a while back before to check out Camp Blood. It was routine now to check to make sure that no one was trying to camp there or try to wake the slumbering Jason Voorhees. I checked my watch again. 20 minutes had passed. Then a snapping sound snapped behind me. I jumped out my skin. I took a deep breath, climbed out the car, and entered Camp Blood in search of James. I walked around the outside of the cabins. Yo, James, I called out. I pulled out my pistol and kept a tight hold on it. I carried on walking until I reached the middle of the campground and found a machete stabbed into the centre. I walked up to it, I holstered my pistol, and then I placed my hands around the blade. I then managed to grip onto the handle and pull it out of the ground. I examined the machete. It was light. It was black. And had old stains of blood all up the blade. It was weightless. Then suddenly I could feel a burning sensation in my arm. I pulled my sleeve down and noticed black veins running through my arm. I looked down in horror when someone tapped me on the shoulder. I swung around and raised the machete. "Whoa, whoa, whoa, dude, it's only me," James called out. "Sorry," I gasped as I lowered the machete. "I see you found Jason's machete," James said with a slight grin. "Yeah, it was embedded into the ground," I explained. "You know, they say that ever since Jason's last attack, he was stabbed with his own machete, and his blood affected the blade. If you hold it long enough, apparently, it drives you mad until you're in a killing frenzy," James chuckled. I let out a small laugh as I glanced at the blade. I tightened my grip around the handle. I could not let go. I wanted to put it back into the ground. Hell, chuck it into the lake. I tried, but my hand wouldn't let me. James then slapped me on the shoulder, and I heard a sudden noise ringing in my head. "Kee, kee, kee, ma, ma, ma." The voice rang in my head. "Come on." I checked everywhere. "Let's go get a coffee." "We need it," James said to me as he started to walk off. I then looked at my friend walking away, and I lunged forward and buried the machete into James's neck. Blood exploded out of him as the blade sliced into him. James dropped to his knees. I pulled the machete out of his neck, and he dropped to the floor, clenching his wound, and his hands quickly became soaked in blood. He looked up straight into my eyes, and I started to stare back at him as his life left his body. I then walked away, leaving James's dead body there. I climbed back into the car and started the engine. I drove off, not knowing why I did what I just did. The machete was now in the passenger seat. I was confused and I did not feel guilty. In fact, I almost enjoyed it. I carried on driving when I saw some light in the woods. It was a small fire. I stopped the car and cut the engine. I could hear music and laughter. I assumed it was teenagers. It was always teenagers. I climbed out of the car, machete already in my hand, and I walked through the woods and entered their small little camp. There was 4 teenagers. 2 girls were dancing around the fire, whilst 2 guys were getting stoned and drunk, sat in deck chairs. I hid the machete behind me and pulled out my flashlight and aimed it at the teens. "Whoa, whoa, man, it's a cop!" one of the stoners barked. "Easy now. I was just seeing the source of light. You better be careful of that fire, you hear me?" I told them. "Don't worry, officer." "We will," one of the girls said in a playful tone. "And stay away from Camp Blood, okay? It's only half a mile from here. Don't want you guys trespassing," I told them. "Yes, officer, don't worry, we don't plan on moving," one of the stoners muttered. I nodded and said my goodbyes. "Man, that guy needs a spliff and bad," one of the stoners said. I turned back around and threw the machete. It spun through the air and hit one of the stoners dead in the head. His body went limp. He dropped his can and his joint as blood started running down his face. I then ran over and retrieved my machete. I turned around to see the other 3 teens running in different directions. They moved rather quickly. I sighed deep. I obviously had to kill the other 3 teens now, because they would open their big teen mouths. I then ran after the other boy. He was clearly the faster and taller one. He would cover more ground in less time, so I went after him first. Thankfully, his body was running off the effects of cannabis and alcohol, so he wouldn't be able to think straight. I chased the boy and tackled him to the floor. He tried to struggle to get away from me. I reached out to pull on anything he could grab. I leaned forward and stabbed the machete in his hand. He screamed out in pain, blood spilling out of his hand, which was not stable to the ground. He climbed to his knees, fighting back his tears and grunting repeatedly through the pain. I climbed to my feet and smiled to myself as I watched him trying to remove the machete and holding back his agony. I walked up to him and grabbed him by the chin and the back of the head. He screamed out, tears now running down his cheek. I took a deep breath and with one quick, swift pull, I moved the boy's head too quick to the left, and his neck snapped. His body dropped to the ground, limp and lifeless. I grabbed the machete and pulled it out of the ground and freed his hand. I then turned back around and started jogging back to the campsite. "Kee, kee, kee, ma, ma, ma," said the voice ringing in my head once more. I then headed back to the campsite and found the two sets of footprints, one going south and one going southwest. I ran southwest and followed the tracks. The soil was dry and soft, so I found loose footprints rather quick. I ran faster, machete in hand. I chased down the first girl and found her at a bus stop on the side of the road. She was crying, curled up in a ball. I walked up to her and stood over her as she looked up and started to scream at me. I grabbed her by the throat, cutting off her mid-scream. I then stabbed her in the stomach repeatedly, over and over again, blood now spraying all over my uniform. She gargled on her own blood as her body went limp. Her intestines had now started to fall out of her. I dropped her body on the ground. I turned around, found a police officer staring at me, his flashlight shining in my face. I raised my hand to deflect the light. "Everything okay?" the police officer asked. "Yes, everything is fine," I said. The officer looked down at me, saw the machete, the bloodstained uniform, and the dead mutilated girl behind me. He put two and two together rather quickly and pulled out his gun and aimed it at me. I dropped the machete and bolted forward, disarming the man. I kneed him in the stomach. He dropped to his knees. As I pulled the gun from him, I then shoved the nozzle in the police officer's mouth and pulled the trigger, his head popping like a grape. Blood and brain matter exploded everywhere. He fell to the floor. I dropped the gun and retrieved my machete. I then walked up to the police officer's car when suddenly I could hear the police radio. "Hey, we got a young girl at Camp Blood hiding. She claims they're camping with her friends. Some guy chased her with a machete. Could be some pranks. You know to respond," the radio said. I knew the last girl's location now. I then headed back to Camp Blood. The voice rang in my head. It took me a while, but I got there. I entered the camp and found one of the cabin doors wide open. I knew for a fact James would have left them all closed. I walked up to it and entered. I then quietly crept around the cabin, the machete in grip. Then I walked into the bedroom and I could hear whimpering. I stopped by the bed, leant down to grab the base of it, and with a quick fling, the bed flew across the room. I crashed into the wall. I found the girl laying there, crying. She looked at me in plea and fear. I grabbed her by the hair, pulled her up to her feet, and she started to wriggle and thrash, but I headbutted her, my hat falling off my head. Blood exploded from her nose. I rammed my machete into the girl's waist, and she screamed out in pain. Her wails broke her voice. I pulled the machete out of her. Then I redid my action, the machete digging more into her body. I did it again and again, hacking into the woman, until my machete swung all the way through her, her legs dropping to the floor, her inside started spilling out everywhere, and I dragged the girl's torso outside and dropped it on the ground. I walked up to the lake and took a deep breath. I knelt down and gazed out the water. "Well done, Ace. Good boy. Welcome to Mommy's campsite. Your new home. I'm so happy to have more children playing here. And it's time for a party. Guests are arriving," said a woman's voice in my head. I could hear sirens behind me. The flashing lights of their vehicles lit up the darkness veiled throughout the forest and the campsite. I heard footsteps, the cocking of guns. They advanced closer to me. I could hear the police radios. Suddenly, white spiritual pressure formed around my face into a hockey mask. Then I stood up. I turned around, my new blood-soaked machete in hand. I was ready to face the oncoming horde of police officers heading towards my way. I took one deep breath. Then everything went black. The needles extracted from my body, and I bolted out of bed, and I crashed on the floor.
"Sir, our 8 hours was an equivalent to 9 hours and 24 minutes in that universe. And your heart rate levels have skyrocketed more than ever before. Are you okay, sir?"
Daisy asked me. I stood slowly, my mind fuzzy due to the traumatic events I caused in that universe. I took a deep breath. As I realised I was drenched in sweat, I walked over to my bed. I laid down. I curled up into a ball. Daisy activated the fan, so I had a nice breeze on my skin. I closed my eyes and prayed my memories of that universe did not haunt my peaceful darkness as I hid myself away. And there you have it, guys, our Halloween special and another installment to the Color Matrix. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I apologize about the gore. Of course, make sure you go check out the Tiger Tales YouTube channel where you'll find more stories. There's also a Halloween special on that channel as well. Make sure you check out Tiger Tales Game Over, another place where we upload more stories and fanfictions, but they're all revolving around video games. A huge shout out to the Author's Crown and its creator, A Crown. A Crown actually is helping me with the Color Matrix, and he also, without him, we wouldn't have the Game Over channel. So make sure you go subscribe to the Author's Crown. That being said, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I look forward to the rest of the year and to do more Color Matrix. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I shall see you guys really soon.